Rome, known to most as the Eternal City, a place with immense history going back 3 millennia and once home to the Roman Empire. That empire is long gone. Left behind are her ruins that inspire us today. Praised for its art, philosophy, fashion, food, and Vespus, the capital of Italy, home to roughly 3 million people, the Vatican, and teenagers that dress like this. I love this city, but like most places, it has problems. I moved here roughly 2 years ago from the US in search of a better quality of life and easier access to education. I studied global humanities at La Sapienza University, and the recurring theme affecting most students is housing. I used to commute nearly 2 hours from outside of Rome just to get to class. My options were very limited. The university I go to is full of students from around the world, and everyone has a story to tell. I'm here to tell those stories. In this video, I interview colleagues from La Sapienza to record their experiences and opinions on the housing crisis in Rome. To do this, I use the oral history methodology, a methodology I learned through a research internship in collaboration with Cambridge University called the Global History Lab. Oral history focuses on the individuals that are less likely to be heard by history. Their stories were recorded through a series of interviews, no, not that kind of interview, in which I asked them about their story. Before this, I will give some context to the housing crisis in Rome. 2025 is an extraordinary year, the year of Jubilee. Pope Boniface VIII declared the year 1300 a holy year, originally a year of forgiving debts and being rid of sins. Every subsequent 25 years is another jubilee, where pilgrims from all around the world, faithful to the Church, come to Rome to pass through the holy gates and be forgiven of all sins and guaranteed entrance into heaven. This year is big for pilgrimage, taxi drivers, and landlords. This jubilee is a perfect time to cash in on short-term rentals and leave long-term residents, immigrants, and students with little to no options. Rent in Rome is already up by 17%, and the supply of apartments offering medium to long-term rent are down since last year. Anyone who has moved to Rome knows how difficult it is to find accommodation between all the scams, doom scrolls on popular housing apps like Idealista or Subito, all exacerbated by this year's Jubilee. Why would a landlord ever want to miss out on thousands of euros in extra, quote unquote, passive income? The colleagues I interviewed have experienced the effects of the housing crisis firsthand, but the government and university are unwilling to listen to what students like them have to say. This is why I decided to do this project and use oral history as my main methodology. The first interview is with one of my roommates.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Gamal, and I'm from Kazakhstan. And I've been studying in Sapienza University for almost 2 years here. Um, yeah, and we are roommates with Pierre. So I guess that's my short introduction of myself.
All right, what do you study?
I'm studying design multimedia visual communication. It's a long name of the program.
How difficult was it to actually get to Italy?
Well, in terms of getting visa, it's always hard for international people because you know that if you're coming from, I wouldn't call my country third world country, but in terms of getting visa, it's kind of it is. I was waiting like for almost 3 months um, for approval of my visa application. There was basically no communication with visa center, so I didn't even knew if they gonna approve it or not. And then by the time when I got my visa, it was almost the end of the first semester of the first year. And yeah, and when I came here, it was a bit hard for me to find my accommodation because basically there was no that many options.
So, when you first got here, where did you end up living?
Basically, I lived in hotels for 2 or 3 weeks because I didn't want to risk, and because I had some like expensive tools such as like laptop and I don't know iPad. So I didn't want to risk to be robbed by someone. It was a bit expensive to me. I spent about $2 or $3,000 in 2 weeks, and it was horrible experience. Let's say.
So, what was your first apartment like? Where was it? How much was it? And how did you find it?
Well, I paid 650 euro. I was living basically on the end of the city, on the station near the station Anonina. But it was a bit difficult for me to go to university every time because you need to take like two buses and then metro. So it took me like 1 hour and a half to get to the university.
So, where'd you go next?
Well, yeah, I moved to this place where we're living right now,
Okay.
for Camila. It's um, it's a good option in terms of living almost in the center, so you're well connected to the metro system.
How much do we pay here?
Uh, well, I used to pay 685, and now I'm paying 720. Because what? Because they raised my salary during the my contract. So yeah, in the middle of my contract.
Do you think that housing in Rome is accessible to international students or just even regular students?
Well, it depends on your income, I guess, and your level income. If you are not independent student and you have some financial help from your parents, I guess it will be a bit hard for you to find a cheap place to live. But since I am already been working like remotely, and I did have some savings, I guess for me it was little bit easier. Also, I received some scholarship from university, so it was also very helpful. But in general, I would say that it's hard. Yeah.
Why do you think it's hard?
Well, because for international people specifically, I think that not many owners wants to deal with international people. Usually, they don't even speak English, or they because they think that they might break something, or they're just unreliable as people. So yeah, basically, the only option for international people is just to live in places like Tel Aviv or uni places.
What do you think of Rome overall? I mean, this year we have the Jubilee going on.
Yeah,
You've been here for how long?
almost 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Do you notice any stark differences between last year and this year?
Okay, compared to previous year, I think that the level of tourism did grow, and every time when I'm trying to go to the center, I'm always dealing with a bunch of tourists, and it's a bit hard because basically my faculty buildings are placed in a very central part of the Rome, so I always go there. I'm struggling, and I'm trying to pass through all these crowds. Um, so yeah, and also I think that the prices did kind of grow.
And then do you think that public transport has kind of accommodated or tried to make changes to accommodate all these other tourists? Or
Wouldn't say so.
are you currently looking for a different place here in Rome? Are you?
I'm trying. I'm trying. I try my
Uh,
best.
why would that be?
Um, well, since again I told you that the prices are high right now, it's a bit hard to find a good place to live.
How are you searching for an apartment?
Well, basically through apps like Idealista and Immobiliare, and some social media groups like in Telegram or Facebook.
Okay. How do you think Rome, as a municipality or even region, can do better to help accommodate more students and just people in general?
Well, that's a
Sorry,
tough
big
question to
question.
me, to be honest. I don't know. But I think that there are some special programs for students that have some difficulties with financial problems. Yeah. I think they can receive place in accommodations. I wouldn't say that they are very good to live in, but at least it's something, right? And they charge only 150 euro, which is very cheap compared to regular prices in Rome. So I mean, I even got one room last year, but nothing worked there, and basically there was no refrigerator. The bedsheet was dirty, like I think they didn't change it for like decade or so. The toilet also was a little bit broken. um, I think that heating system also didn't work. So I was like, if I would go to live here, I probably will die here. And also, it was located very, very far on the north part, in the north part of the city. So I would need to take like 2 or 3 buses to get to my university building. And I was like, no way, I'm not gonna do this. Last year, I applied for my permission of residence here, and then only like after 9 months I managed to get an interview. I mean, I think that the system is a little bit failed to perform.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah.
The next interview is with Brennan.
I'm Brennan. I got to Italy initially working at the U.S. consulate because I was in the Marine Corps for an American from the U.S. And then I had a long term relationship with an Italian, like 4 years. And the easiest way to come back, be with her, was on a student visa. So that was the main reason. I mean, I also kind of just wanted to get out of the U.S., like I'm sure you understand. But yeah,
Understandable, yeah.
she had gotten a job in Rome. And so I've been enrolled at Sapienza. She found the program actually. And it was kind of just luck that it was like all the stuff that I actually like. And then I was on the contract at our apartment, broke up. I'm staying at my friend's house.
How did you guys find your first apartment, and where was it?
It's in Pineto. We found it on like Idealista or like Immobiliare or something like that through an agency, like one of those bigger ones, not like the scammy ones. This is like two
Technocasa or something.
Yeah, it
like
was like
that.
Quattro Foyer or something
Yeah,
like
I've
that.
seen them
Yeah, in
before.
Pineto. Yeah, it was a monolocale, so like a single bedroom apartment, with like a tiny little like living room and then a kitchen. The kitchen was like most of the apartment, so it was like 45 square meters maybe. We paid 650, which is like what people are paying for rooms right now, like shitty rooms
I'm
too.
paying
Yeah,
more than that for
yeah,
just
that's
this
yeah,
room. Yeah.
this room. Yeah, exactly. After months of searching and calling and stuff, because it's really like a process, like a numbers game, really more than anything. And it was hard, yeah. And then I left for a couple of months, like 6 months maybe, while I was waiting for my visa. Then I came back and she had already moved in. We'd found it right before I left.
Okay. How much was the agency fee if you?
All in total, I think we had to give like 2 months capara, and
Yeah.
then like the agency fee, which was like a whole month's rent or something like that. Much less than what they're charging now, basically.
Yeah, because now it's like 10 to 20% of the annual rent.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
yeah, so now you said you don't live in that apartment anymore.
No, I had initially looked for an apartment with me and my friend Ayu as well.
Yeah.
Um, and he's from India, and because of this, we encountered like a lot of racism. So it was like I noticed that it was even harder. A lot of the time, they would ask, "Oh, like where are you guys from?" I'm American, and my friend is from India, and we were looking for an entire apartment like together. And the amount of racism we encountered was pretty infuriating and discouraging. So I like stopped looking for a little bit because I knew my friends would let me stay there for a while and focus on exams. And then now I'm looking again. I have some appointments pretty quickly. I got some appointments, but if I would have still been looking like for me and him together, the fact that he's from India would have, again, I'm sure it would have caused us to encounter a lot of racism too. There's some pretty ridiculous stories.
Like, what kind of racism did you experience? Like,
So they'd ask, like, okay, where are you from? I'm an American, and he's Indian. Sometimes they would just hang up, like right away when I said he was Indian. I swear to God. Sometimes they would say, oh, like normally I wouldn't, rent to somebody from Bangladesh or India, but given that he's with you, and you're American,
oh my,
and then I would hang up. It's been a lot easier looking for a room for myself as a Westerner than an apartment, or even like 2 rooms in an apartment for myself and somebody who's not a Westerner.
do you notice any difference between when you searched with your ex partner versus now in the year of Jubilee?
Yeah, you could find one there was way more. Like there's just less apartments in a lot of areas. Like Pineto is a good example. And then the prices are much higher. So like I said, like for a room, you would pay probably on average about what we paid for the entire apartment, like single room apartment in Pineto 2 years ago. Also, like the strategy from when we initially looked and up till now, there's like a bunch of these new companies that I guess have a bunch of apartments. Like they I don't know, take contract or commission or something for like a whole bunch of apartments, and then they ask people to pay 200 euros or something, or 250 euros or something like that to like access like and then they'll just like send you a list of apartments or rooms that they have that like fit your specifications. But like I've never met anybody who's like actually found their apartment through one of these things. I've only met people who wanted to get their 250 euros back from one of these. It's really it seems like a scam. The prices probably is the biggest difference, and then the amount of Airbnbs and stuff like that is significantly higher. So there's just less apartments in general as well, in a lot of areas. The economic situation now is worse in a lot of ways for the average Italian or person living in Italy than it was 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago.
What do you think is the government's failing? Like, what can the Italian government at least do to relieve the housing crisis in Rome?
Regulate the number of B&Bs, rent control.
Mhm.
Rent control, probably, yeah. The lack of a minimum wage is one of the biggest reasons why. Also, I think, because, like, for example, like a lot of my friends who are students at Sapienza that did find jobs that come from places like India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, they find jobs that pay very little. But the thing is, in Italy, because they don't have a minimum wage, it's like the young Italians also.
Does Sapienza help students at all with housing?
Guess that there's a couple like dorms.
Yeah, I've heard about them.
Yeah, but the waiting list is really long, and then they also, this is one of the big problems with them. So one of my friends, they assume that she's going to go back home. Like they just so they don't let you stay there over the summer. So she has to like very quickly find a new place to stay.
Oh wow!
Because they just like assume that she was going to go back and to where her home, while not in lessons or taking exams and stuff. Wow. So I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to do that. The one she's in is past Anaina, which is like what? Yeah. So like you have to take all the way to Anaina, and then it's a bus from Anaina, like even further. So like outside where the metro arrives. Whoa. So it could take like an hour and a half maybe to get all the way to lessons. And she works too.
Yeah. So. The final interview is with Elena.
Hello, I'm Elena Pancaldi. I've been living in Rome for about 3 years now. I've changed a lot of houses, so I'm in a good place for the interview right now because I found my forever home. I'm 22 and I am actually from Italy. I'm from Bologna. I study in Sapienza and it has been great so far. I think I'm staying for master's as well, so Rome is going to be my place for one. Yeah, so I had a pretty grim situation last year, right before, the Jubilee madness that struck the housing situation in Rome. And it was really rough. Right after that, I found this house and I'm currently living in it. And the landlord's really nice and I have a long-term contract and I am finally, in the clear. Because my previous place, it was really rough because I didn't have my contract registered and I only found out way after.
And then how did you leave that apartment?
In a rush. Basically, the living situation wasn't great either, but the point was that the landlords, even though they told me when I got into the apartment, they told me that our contract could be renewed because it was a year contract. So it was, just to give you a timeline, I got in March and the contract was ending in September. And when I got in, they told us that they would renew it the end of June. They called us. It was a video call. It was me and my 2 flatmates. And they were like, by the way, guys, we are not renewing your contract. One of the 2 landlords was gonna live there, and that's why we needed to leave. One of the only legal ways to not renew the contract was to say that either them or a close relative was going to live there, like a way to dodge giving us the proper, the due process. Just overall, they started decoring the room in it looked like an Airbnb. They're just renting it out short term to make more money out of it. They told us that if we wanted to leave before September, we would have to leave our deposit, which is completely unlawful. The point was that I didn't really have a house at that point anymore, so I was more worried about other stuff. 31st of August, I packed up all my stuff and I shoved it into a car. You can keep my deposit, whatever. I'm losing 1 month but I was gonna lose it anyway. I was really convinced that they were trying to get my deposit out of me because both the other two girls already left and left their deposit. I was the only one staying until the end of September. I just decided that for my peace of mind, it was better to just move out as soon as I could, and I just left my deposit for that 1 month that I didn't live there anymore. It's hard to find a place, especially again, it was like the summer of 2024. So the whole Jubilee craziness, everybody was like, oh, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough.
How much were you paying in the other apartment?
Yeah, I was paying 430.
Okay.
430. Yeah, it wasn't a lot for Rome standards. It was 430 without bills.
What neighborhood was that in?
That was in Turpinhatara.
Did you feel like you could have taken legal action?
I didn't think it was worth even just the money
Yeah.
and the effort.
So how did you find that place, and how did you find your current place?
Okay, so that place I was living back then. I was living in a residence, and the whole point that my whole point for leaving the residence was that I wanted a stable contract, and I didn't get that one for that time. But I found the room on Facebook because the girl that was leaving the room had put up an advert for that on just Facebook. My current place I found on Subito.it, and it was a very, very lucky break because I was looking with a friend of mine that was also kicked out of her apartment that summer. So we found this place, and we were the first people to reply to the advert, and that was like our only luck in the whole thing. We came to see him, we signed right away. We live in Pietralata, right after Tiburtina station. So it's a very well connected spot for uni.
You keep mentioning Jubilee.
Yeah.
What effect do you think that has on Rome and housing and general prices?
Oh, the prices raised for sure. I pay definitely more than I did first year, and I pay more than I did in my previous place. And even though I feel like I'm in a sketchier neighborhood, I feel like the Jubilee really affected the center.
Mhm.
And like Trastevere, the whole part that is like kind of the prettiest part of Rome that you will actually maybe go see when you're vacationing. Whereas maybe the outskirts are a little bit less affected. This year, I definitely saw an increase on people. There were way more people coming in all throughout, like train, buses, like anywhere you'd go, there would be tourists and pilgrims and anything really. We're a long way from Rome being, the capital of Italy in all of the senses. It's really sad to see such a beautiful town being so held back by its own infrastructure. Rome has such potential, and sometimes it's really hard to live here.
What do you think that Rome and the municipality could do to help lessen the trials and tribulations of finding housing here? Because it's like every student you talk to, it's always like you have horror stories. You have people that like lived outside of the city and had to commute for like 2 hours just to get to uni. What could be done better in your opinion?
I don't know if it's much of a municipality issue. I don't know if Rome itself could help. Well, for sure, Rome itself and the region could give more student houses. Like they could provide more student like spaces, and that for sure. Because the issue I feel like it's to incentivize people that have like second houses to actually rent them out to students. And there are already like tax benefits, like tax breaks for people who do that. And the contracts for students are quite convenient for landlords. The thing that I found out through my own experience and my friends' experience is that usually people that don't speak Italian or not Italian in general really tend to get scammed like a lot. Because again, I feel like landlords really do take advantage.
Through these interviews, a few things seem to be universal: accessibility, affordability, and luck. Rome has over 120,000 students at Sapienza alone. The fact that there is not enough housing for people seeking higher education is a failure of the system to properly regulate and create a suitable environment for all. To conclude, in this year of Jubilee, where the Pilgrims of Hope came to not only pass through the Holy Gates, but also for the passing of Papa Francesco, the housing of young people was severely impacted. Oral history gave us the opportunity to record the housing crisis through methods that otherwise would have made the people in this video numbers in a graph. It was a pleasure speaking with the people I interviewed, and I'm glad to have had their stories heard. I hope this research encourages universities and governments alike to take action for housing students. Education is a right, not a privilege. Housing goes hand in hand with that.